Welcome to One Actual. This is Callie. Today we're going to do a FAM flight. In our FAM flights, we have a couple different things that we go over. And so I'm going to go ahead and brief our candidate here, and you can follow along, and then we will get up in the air. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them, and I'll try to answer as I have time. All right, you can see the screen I'm sharing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, let me just check one thing so I'm not losing my mind. All right. So the first thing to know is that the intent of this flight is really to get to know each other. There's a lot of times when we're talking about what we've done and whatever, and it's just a lot easier, in my mind, to do a flight and get a better feel for each other. The goal is to determine some baselines for where training could start. It's not really a pass or fail. Though we are probably not the best set up for new candidates. Some of the flying we do is difficult, and I just don't have the staff. So we're going to be taking off from Ryak. It's a small air base. We're going to be taxied over here, or parked over here. We're just going to taxi up here. We'll hold short. We'll get on the runway. We'll do a section takeoff with a 10-second interval, and I'll walk through that. When we take off, we're going to stay on runway heading. I'm going to do about 250 knots, climb just a little bit, have you form up on me, and we'll talk about that. The flight plan is we're going to, again, stay on runway heading. We're going to fly on down here to Mizach, where we have a range. The range is just an airport that's got some targets on it. When we get in the airport, we're going to fly in the overhead pattern, so a circle around it about 6 to 8 miles away, hopefully keeping the sensor constantly on the area so that we can do some talk-ons. We'll get into that a little bit, and we'll pick some targets. So the mission is we're going to use some GBU-12s. We're going to be using the ATFLIR, and there's a couple brevity terms you may or may not know. So contact, it acknowledges sighting of a specific reference point, either visual or via sensor. So if I said, on this page, do you see the M for mission? You would say contact. And if I said, if you slewed right till you see the VFA-192 logo, you would say contact. And if I said that is your target, you would say capture. Capture is specific for a surface target or an object, has been acquired and is being tracked by an onboard sensor. So we would never say capture to friendlies, right? We would say visual, blind. Capture is a very specific term, meaning we're going to do something kinetic on this target, right?
Copy.
Okay. Looking just means you're looking, right? You're just taking a look, trying to figure it out. It's just brevity for saying, I'm not sure, I'm looking. Were those new to you by chance, or is that...
We will use contact whenever we see the bad guy or bad thing, but I haven't used capture before when we know when we're locked onto a target, so that's new. Looking is obviously, looking, I don't see it. I don't know what you're looking, we've used looking in several different ways, but yeah.
It's just a quick way of saying I'm trying to figure out what the hell you want.
We'll usually do visual for good guy, contact, or for bad guy, so got it.
Yeah. Oh, this has got a little error. I don't know why that smudgy thing is there. We'll fix that. Anyhow, we're going to use two formations today. You may or may not be familiar. In these two formations, you're literally going to have the missile tip lined up to that star and stripe on the side of the fuselage just under the canopy. And I don't care how close you get. This is just an example. I actually use this example because I think it's important to note you actually fly off a lead. In this case, I have the missile tip where I want it. This person is actually a little bit farther up than they should be. If they were back, we'd all three be in line. So you fly off lead, not two. You may or may not know that, but trying to fly off two, who's flying off a one, is a disaster.
It is a disaster. I always wondered, so that's good to know. We should all fly off lead.
Yeah, now,
interesting.
I can be an a-hole, and especially in the pattern for recovery, I can fly so close to one, or at least I try to, that you can't fly off of one.
Can't see. All right.
It's because I'm a mean guy. Nobody likes me. Anyhow, We also use, so we only use parade around the boat or admin, like landing in a field. I am not going to put you in parade for no reason. Generally speaking, it's just for timing, keeping things close. It is not a tactical thing at all. As soon as we get up in the air, at some point, I'm going to put you in cruise. Cruise means you're going to get the wingtip to my nose versus the missile tip to that point with the star and stripe. This gives you somewhere between 100 and 1,000 feet back, and it gives you freedom to move left or right. You have the autonomy. If we're making a turn, you can go inside, outside, whatever you want to do, right? It also is a little less taxing because you can go back 1,000 feet if you want, and you can do some heads downs things if you need to, right? So there's supposed to be a reference page there. I still got to figure that out. Anyhow, I just love this picture. Any questions about the flight, what we're going to do, anything like that?
No, nothing. Are we going to do boat work after, or is that another time?
No,
or
that's
just,
a whole... Brother, I have tried, and I first started this fam flight out way more difficult than it is now. And I just try to keep it really simple and get the feel for each other, and not because I feel like it's the best way we're going to get to know each other.
Good deal. Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and click fly. I should put this in the briefing, but your laser code will be 1712.
Copy. Are we loaded up already, or do we need
Yeah, you should have two GBU 12s, and you should have 4 GBU 12s and 1 tank.
I shouldn't have said copy. I already forgot. Did you say 1712 or 1772?
1712.
Yeah.
So the way we do it, we are really simpletons around here. Every flight begins with 17, and then it's your dash number 11, 12, 13, 21.
I was listening to your JTAC talk the other day about how the laser is actually wavelengths and putting them really close together. They don't do that in the field. I was like, oh, I never thought of that. That's scary. Yeah.
So I don't. That was from Rifle, and that's so funny because I have never heard that before. So we'll have to see. In DCS, I don't think it matters, to be honest.
No, I don't think it does either. Okay.
All right. So to set things up for success, I recommend getting your laser code in, doing whatever things you do in the jet. We'll set a bingo of 4,000. And then I don't like doing cold starts because it throws me out of my, or hot starts because it throws me off my game. But please go ahead and turn on your data link.
Yeah, data link. Yep.
This way I can spy on you when we're flying.
Data link set.
All right, when you're ready to taxi, we will actually let's do this.
Oh, yeah.
Radio check 1 on the right.
2 Lima Charlie. 2 Lima Charlie. Same.
Okay, when you're ready, go ahead and let me know, and we will taxi up.
Ready.
All right, I'm going to taxi out, hold short of the runway. I'll walk through section takeoff just to make sure we're on the same page. You may have done them before.
Copy.
One's holding short.
Two in place.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and take the active runway. I'm going to go to the left and then go to the far right lane. Far right lane. There's only one right lane. Go to the center and then just line up to me as you would in parade, just putting that missile tip on that little spot, and then we will do a section launch. Or takeoff, not launch.
Two in place.
Okay, so when I say run them up, I'm going to go ahead and apply the brakes. You're going to do the same. We're going to
Say again, I lost you at 2. Transmit cut off.
Okay, let me try this again. So I will say run them up. We both put our brakes on, go to 80% on the RPM. When I say 1 rolling, you'll wait 2 seconds, or 2 seconds, 10 seconds, and then you'll roll. So we're just going to take off 10 seconds apart, basically.
2 copy.
All right, flight, run them up. 1 is set. You set.
2. 2.
One rolling. And again, I'm going to take off and stay on runway heading.
2 rolling.
Kind of going to put my carrier bypass hook down. That's weird. My gear didn't go up. And then just come on up to my right side. And again, I don't care how close you are, just come up to as close as is comfortable for you. Just try to be in that position with the wing missile tip there.
2 settled on your right.
All right, as we punch through this little cloud here, one of the things we do is we're changing channels a lot. The way we would communicate that is I would say flight, push, and then left or right, left being COM 1, right being COM 2, and then the button number. So flight, push, 6, left. And just tell me 2 is set.
2 is set.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and speed up a little bit here. And why don't you go ahead and go to section cruise, again putting my wingtip to my nose and giving you freedom of movement left and right.
Two in place.
We're going to climb up here a little bit. And while we're doing this climb, flight fence in. And then just let me know when you're fenced in with your fuel state.
Two fenced in, 11.7.
A little far back, if you can come a little closer, I'll slow it down here a little bit. And we're going to level off probably about 23,000. May or may not be familiar, but FENCE is part of an acronym. One of the parts of that acronym is emissions, and you want to go ahead and turn your lights off. Have your formation strobe on.
Copy.
Then when you're done with that, why don't you go ahead and capture, why don't you go ahead and waypoint designate waypoint 6.
Copy. Waypoint 6 designated.
All right. I'm going to level this off here. FPAS says we should do about 0.73 for endurance, so we're going to go ahead and set autopilot for altitude hold, and then we're going to slow down to about 0.73, and I'm going to make a left-hand turn to turn us towards waypoint 6. Had you ever flown the section cruise position before?
No, we're usually pretty tight.
Yeah, it's great for administrative purposes, but for any of this kind of stuff, man, it's too much work on me to fly as smooth as I need to when you're in a wingman, two, three, or four of you. So if I put you guys in cruise, I let you have the freedom to do stuff, and it gives me freedom to do things a little bit as well.
Absolutely. It's a mess trying to do it tightened up.
Yeah, and it's not realistic. Not at all. I mean, you got to have some separation time and ability to make decisions, do the switchology, things like that. Speaking of which, one thing that I was told is go ahead and bring up your FLIR and let me know when it's up and you're looking at waypoint 6.
FLIR is up. Contact.
Okay. So sensor control to the direction of the targeting pod and get that little diamond up in the left upper right hand corner.
Copy.
Now go ahead and TDC depress and then sensor control in the direction of again until you get to scene mode, which means you get a staple on top and a staple on the bottom basically.
Too good.
The purpose of that, if you're not aware, is if you don't do that, and I think it's an error in DCS, if you change scene modes, it'll go back to the original waypoint versus change scene modes and stay where you're looking at. I don't know if you've ever experienced that error before.
Oh, it explains why bombs don't go where you think they go.
It could be if it moved and you changed mode and you bombed on the new point. Yes. We're going to roll out here. I'm going to go a little bit off to the right as we approach, setting up the left-hand orbit. When we get at 20 miles, I'd like you to go ahead and take Angels 20, and then we'll get in the left-hand orbit. And we will also, once we get there, I'm showing current endurance for not range, but just holding is going to be 0.56. So I'm going to slow us down to 0.56 so that we can get the most amount of playtime in the AO.
Copy.
So have you been using the FLIR before, or were you using the Lightning Pod?
Always FLIR.
Okay, so you're familiar. It's funny, there's a lot of people that use the Lightning Pod, and it's not a judgment, it's just different, and so I always wonder what people are actually using. We fly off the boat 99.99% of the time, which is why I'm trash around airfields, but that's why we carry the FLIR. And we're at 19 miles. Go ahead and drop down to Angels 22. This way we have a little bit of vertical separation, and we can be in the same airspace and not crash into each other.
Did you say 22 or 20?
22.
Copy. 2 in place.
Copy. So I'm 12 miles out. I'm going to go ahead and slow down to 0.56. On the FPass page, it may show a slightly different number since you're 1,000 feet below.
Copy.
Now, have you held a circle around a point before at all?
Yes.
Okay. So everyone's probably got a different technique. I just keep my targeting pod kind of looking there. I look over my left shoulder and I just do, I don't know, somewhere between 15 and 30%, 30-degree turns just to kind of maintain that, and I adjust it every so often. So let me know when you're in the overhead and you're established in your left-hand turn and you are ready for your first talk on.
So I'm going to be on your left. Are you just not doing the turns? I'm a little confused there. You want me to just do it by myself here?
Yes, so you are managing yourself, and if I didn't make it clear, my apologies. All you're doing is you're staying at Angels 22, going in the left-hand circle, maintaining your own spacing, your own turns. We each have our own little vertical separation, trying to be about 6 to 8 miles away from the airfield.
Copy that.
And do you know why no more than 8 miles?
I do not.
It's my understanding that the laser only goes 8 miles. It suddenly just fades off at 8 miles.
Did not know that.
Yeah, I've seen it when one of our JTACs put the IR pointer out. It just literally stops in space. It doesn't fade, it just stops. It's kind of ridiculous.
Gotcha. Well, I am in my turning pattern now.
Okay, and you have contact on waypoint 6 down there towards the center of the runway?
Contact.
Go ahead and slew north until you find a taxiway just north of the runway.
Contact.
All right, from that taxiway, I want you to go west until you see a parking ramp just north of the taxiway that's got 6 vehicles on it and a 2x2 configuration front to back.
Looking. Capture.
Okay, can you go ahead and put TDC depress for me, please? Got it. And can you tell me what you see down there?
I see 6 vehicles, 8-wheeled transport vehicles of some sort, maybe?
Yep, those are artilleries, MLRS, those are Smirches. Of those vehicles, I'd like you to slew to the southeastmost vehicle.
Capture.
One thing that we do a lot of with our JTACs is we do a confirmation as is required in part of the 9-line process. So if I was going to try to confirm what this vehicle is, I would say that this vehicle is facing south. There is a vehicle to the north of it also facing south. There is a vehicle to the west of it also facing south, but there are no vehicles to the south or east. Does that make sense? I'm being very specific about where that vehicle is.
That makes a lot more sense than big truck, 8 tires.
Well, either way, we're just trying to distinguish between those vehicles which one is the actual target. So what I want you to do is go ahead and push out 10 miles to the north, and then I want you to come in from the north to the south. By definition, in an air-to-ground roll working with a JTAC, that means you would have a 45-degree cone, and that's fine. I'd like you to keep it as close to north to south as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect, but when you come in, go ahead and call in with your exact heading, and then I'll give you cleared hot. Any questions on that?
No questions.
Okay, and then what I'd like you to do is go ahead and speed up to 350 knots. We want to get some energy into this weapon so we can deliver it with a little bit of kinetic force.
Copy. Two is headed in, 188.
Clear dot.
Two is paveway. Good shot.
Yep. I want you to go ahead and take the vehicle that is the northwestmost vehicle. That is your new target.
Capture.
And go ahead and push out the same direction and the same attack profile.
Copy, headed 360. 2 in at 205.
Clear dot.
Payboy. Two good check.
All right. What I want you to do is go ahead and get back into the overhead and let me know when you're established, and we'll get you a new target.
Two contact.
You're established.
Two established. Copy.
Hold on a second. I'm being told they can't hear the jet. 1 second here. Did you copy?
Copy.
Okay. I'm sorry, are you ready for the grid?
I am ready.
Okay, I didn't understand. All right, the grid is going to be Bravo Tango 415075, elevation 2373 feet.
Could you give me the letters on that grid again, please?
Bravo Tango.
Copy. Bravo Tango 415075, elevation 273 feet.
Correction on elevation 2373 feet.
Copy. 2373. Grid set.
You have capture or contact on that grid? So just to make you to, once you put the grid in, just waypoint designate on that grid and let me know what you see.
I see a field. I see a jet.
And can you describe that jet to me?
Possibly Frogfoot, facing north, facing northeast.
Yeah, so there should be, from the west, it should be the fourth Frogfoot in from the west. They're all on little offshoots of the taxiway into a circle. So if you look a little bit west, you'll see 3 others. Yours should be the fourth in.
Copy that. I was zoomed out too far, or zoomed in too.
Okay, so if you have the fourth one, it is a Frogfoot. It is facing northwest a little bit. That is your target. So go ahead and call capture and then push on back out to the north and come back in, same heading as before.
Capture. I am 8 miles south of the target. You want me to go ahead and keep rolling until I'm north of it and then head south?
If you're south, just go ahead and come in from south to north.
Two in 021.
Cleared hot.
Paper.
Good hits. Go ahead and establish back in the overhead and let me know when you're ready for one more grid.
Copy. Two established.
Your grid is Bravo Tango 8-digit 422808 21, elevation 2359 feet.
Grid Bravo Tango 422-80821, elevation 2359.
That's readback's correct.
All right, you got me. You tricked me on the 8-digit. I don't know how to enter it.
You put a 0 at the after the end of each 4 digits. So you put in the first 4, put in a 0, the next 4, and then a 0.
Working on it.
Yep. And for anyone listening, that is intentional, just because you can only do a 6 or a 10-digit grid in the Hornet. To do an 8-digit grid, you have to enter in 2 extra zeros. And a lot of our JTACs give it to us in 8-digit grid, so it's good to get familiar. A little bit of a trick, not too big.
Yeah, I'm not. Every time I hit 0 and enter, it just zeroes out. I'm not sure how to enter that.
Okay, so just go back and select the Bravo Tango grid when you hit grid in the UFC, and I'll walk you through it.
Copy. Okay.
So now enter the first 4 digits and then a 0.
Four, 2280 entered.
Okay, and then enter the next 4 digits and a 0 and hit enter.
Okay, when I hit 0, nothing comes up after I hit 42280 and enter.
No, my error. Go ahead and select the Bravo Tango again. You're just going to hit 42280, and then you're going to type in the next 4 digits and then type in a 0 again before you hit enter.
Okay, am I going to see those numbers on my UFC? Because all I'm seeing is 4228000.
Oh, you didn't box precise.
That is probably where. So I'm going to box, let me see, where is that? What letter?
So
what button
in
is
the
that?
HSI page, go to data, and then the bottom left, you're going to see precise. You need to box that. Haha, Irish, who's listening, I just figured that out.
Now we are cooking with gas.
Alright, go ahead from your current heading. Go ahead and tell me, well, when you have that contact on that, let me know what you've got. Do you have contact on that grid?
Looking. Stand by. I've got to re-enter it. There was an error.
Copy. Try to give any candidate plenty of time to work through their issues, the switchology. I think they always feel pressure doing a fan flight. I know I would. So I try not to pressure. Give them a little bit of time. We got plenty of fuel. So we'll let him work through it, ask questions as needed. I'm certainly asking him to do something he's never done before.
I'm having an issue keeping the grid in. It keeps going back to YB. I'm going to try one more time.
Override it, go to a different grid number, or a different waypoint number to override. I've had that issue happen before. I don't know what causes it, but I've had that happen.
How do I override that?
So just go to, so like right now when you go to the HSI page, you're on a certain waypoint. Just go up to another waypoint and then go back to data and UFC and try entering it over a separate waypoint.
Okay. Copy that.
And he has no ID on here, which I like. I think I'm going to add a new element to this where I'm going to form up, we're going to do a simultaneous impact, have them fly off of me in section cruise, add a little bit extra spacing, we'll release and fly on our own, but more teamwork. I haven't done that before, I just thought of that. I think that'll be nice. I enjoy doing those challenges and I enjoy teamwork, so we'll introduce just a little bit
Keeps
more.
going to YB. Am I just supposed to hit target designator switch over BT?
Okay, so go ahead and go to your FLIR pod and then hit nose wheel steering button. I might get busted.
Copy.
Now go back to your HSI page and hit waypoint designate.
Okay.
Did that fix it?
Hang tight. Looking. Okay, it's still showing YB, but I'm going to re-enter it now. I'm going to do the same step you just told me and re-enter.
What waypoint number are you trying to overwrite?
Well, I just started up new one from 7, 8, 9, and went.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and get back in a pattern around waypoint 6 and then start this over. I'm way off target.
Okay. What's your fuel state?
6.8. Okay, I'm back in a pattern around the target, and I'm going to try this one more time.
Copy. Again, I think patience is really important. Just to make sure that we all feel stressed, we all have moments. Doing something new with a new place and new people is always difficult. So try to be as patient as fuel will allow. I'm getting too close and in the wrong position.
Still going YB.
And you're selecting on BT and it's going to YB. That's so weird. Why don't we do this? Do you remember the first targets we captured?
Yes. Copy that, yep.
Why don't we go back to see if you can find those targets? At least the taxiway that was just south of those targets. And if not, just recapture. Go ahead.
Looking.
If not, just recapture waypoint 6 and we'll talk on to the target.
I have contact on taxiway south of those targets.
Alright, I want you to slew east on that taxiway until you come in contact with another taxiway that goes south and north.
Is it a short taxiway, south and north?
Yep.
I think I've got one at the east end of the runway.
Yeah, so it should just be just east of that location. And what I want you to do is continue slewing east until you come to a larger taxiway that should have two airplanes north and south of that intersection. He's flying so fast.
Sorry, look at my wings blocking.
Yeah, what's your speed?
It was way too high. It was over 400. Coming back down to 50.
Yeah.
Okay, I have frog foot of some sort at the east end of the runway, north of the runway.
Frog foot. I'm looking at two bombers at that intersection. Go ahead and look left. Do you see your diamond down there?
Copy that. Contact.
Do you see what looks like a staple somewhere near your diamond?
Yes, I see two bombers now, sort of look like B-1s.
Yeah, sure. The one closest to the runway is your target.
Are there moving vehicles headed to the west from there?
Those vehicles are headed from the west to the east on the runway. I see them, they're tanks.
Copy that, okay.
So,
alright, capture. They're on target.
Okay, so you have the one that's closest to the runway.
Capture.
Okay. What we're going to do, we're going to do something just a little bit different here. And so, go ahead and look out to your right.
Hello there.
Hi. Alright, so I want you to get behind me in section cruise. So again, you can be as far as 1,000 feet back with my wingtip to my nose. We're going to turn in. I'm going to take the target just south or just north of your target, and we're going to do a little bit of teamwork. We're going to hit two targets at the same time.
Copy.
So let me know when you're in position.
In position.
Alright, I'm going to speed us up to Millpal, and I'm going to make a little left-hand turn here. We're going to get back on the target. Now, when we turn in, reference formation for when we turn in. Once we turn in, reference your HUD symbology for doing a proper drop, even though it's going to separate you a little bit from me.
You want me to read out my heading?
No, I just want you to, when we turn in, I want you to follow your HUD drop indication more than flying form. Does that make sense?
I understood that after I said what I said. Thanks.
It's all good. No worries. Alright, we should be inbound here. And I'm showing 24 seconds to release and rolling out. Are you online?
Online.
One away. I'm going to be rolling off to the right just slightly.
2 away.
And then just follow me as we leave. Just keep eyes on me. I'll make sure that our targeting pod shouldn't get masked. Good hits. Alright, stay on me. Follow me. We are going to RTB. Go ahead and fence out.
Fenced out, 5.3.
And lead is fenced out, 5.4. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and continue down this way. We're going to turn in towards the airport, come down into the valley over there, and go in for an overhead brake to the left-hand side. Have you done an overhead brake before?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead and just delay your overhead brake let's go ahead and go 5 seconds after mine.
Copy, 5 seconds.
I'm going to back off the throttle a little bit here as we descend. So I know it's we're still in the air, but what'd you think so far?
Oh, I got a little fog of war. I lost sight of the target and stayed too far away and kind of ventured away from it, getting flustered with my data input there, and then didn't pay attention that my auto throttle was off, and I had got up to 400 knots. And then my directions never reached shredded wheat, need some work.
I mean, it happens. You're doing something new with a new place, new people, new ways. I don't know why I've had it work where it was having trouble with me before. I wonder if hitting VVS-LI might have helped to re-center the pod. You did kind of get in a right-hand orbit, and maybe the cabling in the pod got twisted, and that's what that's for. I didn't think about that till just now, so that could have been an issue. But I mean, it's not the hugest deal. We got onto the targets. We decided to use a different method. It's important to know the 8-digit grid because a lot of our JTACs, that's pretty much the standard they'll use. They'll use like a 6 or an 8. Rarely do you get a full 10-digit grid.
Copy. Yeah, I'll work on that. Do some studying.
I mean, I think you had it down, just boxing precise, knowing where to put those zeros. It's a little bit of a trick. Not a huge one, a little bit. But it's not that hard to teach in the air either. So one thing to note, as a flight lead, I try to be as smooth as I can. I try to use as much autopilot as I can. It lets me have more bandwidth to look at other things, position, think about what I'm doing. Also should make it smooth for you. However, one mistake that I learned a long time ago that I try not to repeat is if I'm in auto throttle and I descend, it'll put the jet at idle, which basically means you only have the speed brake to slow down with to match my speed, and that's a very blunt tool compared to the throttle.
Copy that.
So I do try. Do you have your HSI page up at all?
I do.
Do you have waypoint? Go ahead and box waypoint 0 if you get a chance.
Got 36.5 miles.
Yep. And if you look on the right-hand side, where it says in the top right of the HSI page, underneath where it says Coke, it says a certain number. Do you know what that number is?
I have not a clue.
That's your estimated fuel remaining if you keep flying the same thing you're doing when you get to that location. Works for attack in, but it's on the left-hand side as well.
Interesting. Good to know.
Now, if you go ahead and push in a course line of 4-4 in reference to waypoint 0.
Copy that.
Now you'll see in the bottom right, we are C-cell about 13 miles. Do you know what that means?
I do not.
That means that our offset to the course line that we are going to intercept is 11 miles in front of us.
Also good to know. Neat.
No, I'm sorry, that's offset to... well, from here, if I have that up... what am I thinking? Why am I thinking about this wrong? Anyhow, we need to turn into the valley. I'm going to get us behind here. We're going to be landing on 4-4. Once we get in the valley, we're going to turn on down and in. There's a little bit of mountains here, so I'm going to try to go a little bit to the left side and make sure I give you plenty of room to be on the right side. And we're 32 miles out, so I'm going to begin our descent, and I'm going to get us about 1,200 feet AGL, about 350 knots, when we do the break.
Copy.
I see. So the course line, that number is telling you the closest distance.
To that course line?
No, you don't need to do anything. I was talking about what I was referring to before. All you got to do is fly wing from here, brother. Your life is easy. We're going to go ahead and descend into the valley here.
Copy.
I'm going to back off the throttle just a little bit. And go ahead and fly parade. And I lied, it's 1400, I believe, not 1200. So I have a little bit extra space here. I've run into this a couple times. Just want to be clear. When we do an overhead brake, I'm going to go, I'm going to roll, I'm going to pull back on the throttle, and I'm going to engage the speed brake at the same time.
Copy that. You want me to do that as well?
Yep, but you're going to wait 5 seconds after me.
Copy.
Did you see that little surge, or was that just me?
I did see a little.
Okay. And also, I'm dirting up at 250. Do you have visual on me?
I have visual on you.
Okay, we're a little close. You might have to offset right.
Copy.
I made a boo-boo. I didn't have anti-skid on. Too much carrier ops.
2 is down.
And 1's cleared active. And just taxi all the way to the end, or go all the way to the end and then taxi off to the right. Place wheel chocks. Place wheel chocks. Alright, let's go ahead and hop out and we'll take a peek at TAC view.
Okay. Oh. Okay. Shit. Okay, you meant hop out. I'm going to go back into the server. My bad.
Oh no, you don't need to be in the server. You don't need to be in the. You don't need to be in the server at all.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought maybe you said hop out. I was like, I thought you meant hop out of the server. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did. And then I was like, oh boy. Okay.
No,
Good.
Yeah,
I'm in the
yeah,
right spot. Okay.
Nope. We're gonna come take a look at the TAC view. And let me know when you can see it.
I can see it.
All right. So I think you said you'd done a takeoff before, a section takeoff.
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't probably new. We come up on runway heading. It's pretty clear you've flown some formation stuff before. I did ask you to change channels. I think
Yeah,
I saw.
that's what I got a little up high or away.
Yeah, I saw this little whoop whoop, which I always see. It's fine. It takes time, and depending on what kind of peripherals you have, it's a little easier or harder. I put you into the section cruise, had you fence in. On this one, you dropped back a little bit more and had a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
It's the big thing for that is really trying to be as smooth as you can, because if you're like a third over here and you got a fourth outside of you, or even if you're here and we're all echelon right, just being predictable and smooth. I'd like to do things in 2 ships a lot because it gives a lot of freedom, but we do stuff in 4 ships. It comes with time. I'm not sure if you're used to doing some of that in formation, but it just takes time to get all of that down in the system. And again, I don't know if you have peripherals, if you got to mouse click everything. If you got to mouse click everything, it's a little harder.
I am mouse clicking the yeah, fencing and stuff for sure.
Yeah. Well, I cheat because I have all the wind wing panels and everything. So literally,
You
I can
know,
literally click. What was that?
I never even thought about. I was thinking, well, what would I use them for? I was like, I can click everything, but boy, having all those panels would be nice to be able to fence in, just reach up and tap, tap, tap.
Oh man,
Hmm.
I can be.
Nice.
I can have my stick, with my right hand. I have to take my hand off the throttle, so sometimes I'll just default a little bit slower, which is fine. And then I will grab the channel button, and I'll know what channel is on. It just literally clicks right or left. I don't even have to look. Okay, I'm on 1 left. We're gonna go 6 right. That's just 1, 2, 3, 4,
Right.
5 because it has clicks indents. And then
So
and
yeah,
what was that?
I'm sorry, but I could just hit ATC, let go of my throttle, and do everything with my left hand rather than having to let go of the stick, grab my mouse, and do that. That would definitely be. Gosh dang it! Now I'm gonna have to order that.
I work for Wind Wing and I get a commission. No, I'm totally kidding. I don't get
Oh
anything.
no, I love Wind Wing. That's all I've got, so I'm a big fan.
For those that are watching, I'm sharing a bunch of pictures. I gotta find it here. I probably already missed it because I'm trying to find it, which means I'm going to miss it. But I'll show people just so they can see where it is. Oh, here it is. Okay. So it makes my life a lot easier when I have all these controls. I can just reach up and touch, but I'm spoiled. And don't look at my cables. They're a disaster zone.
How's the setup on that? Is it a bear or was it fairly simple?
The You mean the physical setup or the
No,
software or
the
both?
software, the physical setup. I've kind of watched the YouTubes and figured that out, putting it all together.
I mean, the
But
biggest thing was adapting it to my rig. It actually caused another problem for something this is designed for, so I got to do another thing. Getting it set up was really simple. There's a couple little things I wish they did better, like as opposed to connecting to one point in the back, it had two because I have mine connected up to some modular aluminum. The software is the stupid simplest software I've ever seen to use. It is so amazing. When I first had a panel, I had a touch screen, and I have an image of that in here. This touchscreen used something called Helios, and I would have to get it all set up with all the exports, and you'd have to do a lot of different things. The original version of Helios, you had to take measurements and literally type in where it was on the screen, so it was a bit of work. The later versions did all of that for you, and WinWing does all of that for you the same way that that did. So it's fantastically easy, to be honest. You just follow the steps.
so it's in the Semap Pro software. It's mapped and
Yep.
go from there.
Yeah. In
Right.
fact,
Where's your keyboard? Do you use any keyboards for shortcuts?
I have a keyboard off to my right and a keyboard holding tray. I
Okay.
typically don't need anything when I'm flying.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna order it. Whatever. Dang it. Okay.
I'm.
All right.
It's
Back to business. Sorry.
no, it's okay. It's very spoiling, and I spend a lot of time in DCS, so I enjoy
So
it. I don't think it's required. I think it just makes your life easier, more enjoyable, more immersive. And my wife let me buy it, so how can you argue, right?
yep.
So, like, in fact, if I can get SimApp Pro, I can actually show you really quick while we're on live here.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
so you literally go through each of these steps. It'll tell you to download this. It'll tell you to do all these different things. It'll walk you through each step. So this is an important one. I have a monitor to my left and right. You have to select which monitor you want DCS on. So this monitor over here is for looking at like Discord or whatever I want, or actually my kneeboard when I'm flying because I cheat. So you just literally click up here and you do that. It tells you asks you what mode it wants you to be in, and you pick that for one camera or 3 cameras. So like if you had, I guess, a triple monitor, it sets
Hmm.
it up for you automatically. the scaling it automatically does. So this is showing my main monitor, and these are the panels, the actual WinWing DDIs. And so
Okay.
you just select and apply that. Then you can come up here, select which aircraft you want. You select which display number, which these numbers show up on the actual displays. I click apply, and it's done. Like everything, it just does it for you. It's so
So
nice.
you would say you're an expert at setting this up.
Yeah, but it's this
So when
makes
I
it.
get mine, I'm just going to be like, okay,
You're gonna call
here's my
Callie.
screen.
Yeah,
You're going to have to walk me through it.
yeah, that's
Okay,
fine.
good deal. But
Okay,
yeah, it looks great.
so back to this. Little sidestep commercial for WinWing. If WinWing wants to sponsor me, I'm just kidding.
Sure.
They have no idea who I even am, and maybe they shouldn't. It doesn't matter. So we turn in. I have you designate waypoint 6. We talk about going into a left-hand pattern. I told you at 20 miles to go ahead and go to Angels 22. I waited till 19 and had you do it. I don't know if I wasn't clear or if you didn't remember. Either way, it's not a big deal. Just a little thing to see if you remember. We got blocked out. We go into a left-hand turn, and we talk on to our first target. And so, as you can see here, we have our lateral separation. So if you stay in your altitude block and I stay in mine, we shouldn't actually hit each other, right?
Mhm.
So, though I have had the scare sometimes when somehow we cross paths, even though we're blocked out, and you hear that jet noise, you're like, oh my God, I'm about to crash into somebody. So that can be a little scary, but not actually done that one.
You get the altitude warning and you realize there's somebody 40 feet below you.
We have some people around here that will do that to you in formation. I said lateral. Sorry, Iris. I meant vertical. I have too many things I'm thinking of. Iris is
Uh,
texting me at the same time.
oh,
So we get into, with our lateral or vertical separation, we get into the overhead. I talk you onto a target. You find it relatively quickly. I push you out to the north. I drop a bomb too. And then you come on in from the north to the south. You hit that target. Another jar. Thanks, Irish. Irish likes to have jars of things I say or do wrong that he can put money in for me to have to retire with, apparently. So, anyhow, I get you onto the second target. Now, I do think you made a boo-boo here. I had to go back and listen to the tape. I thought I said northwest, and you ended up bombing the one behind it at northeast. Now, I didn't.
uh,
What was that?
was that the first target or the second target?
That was the second target.
So I wonder if, because I probably did have my directions mixed up on the, because I did it right after that. I was looking at the N, and I was like, okay, top of the N is, I absolutely did it because I told myself top of the end is west, top of the end was east, and I picked the wrong side. So
Yep.
that was definitely boo boo.
And it's my fault. That correlation phase we did in the beginning, I should have asked you to do in the end, and I meant to. And so that's also on me. Anytime you're going to hit a target and you want to be specific, there needs to be enough correlation to isolate those vehicles. So, not a big deal. It's a good lesson learned. Here in training, it doesn't have a big impact. But if we're doing a mission and that was a friendly and you were doing danger close, we got to be very precise, right?
That's the problem. Yep.
So, but I did notice that. I was like, ooh, I think you hit the wrong target. So, no worries.
Yep.
Then we have you drop on the Frogfoot. I thought that went very well. You're like, I got a field. Oh, wait, I got a jet.
Well, I was zoomed way in, and I was my pinpoint was to the behind it, and that's all I saw. And then I zoomed back out, and I was like, okay, there it is.
Right. And so in using the targeting pod, the zoom is very important, and you want to be able to look around. I gave you a 6-digit grid because it's the default, it's easy, but it doesn't put you right where I want it to be. It's going to be up to 100 meters off, right?
Right.
So essentially, we still got to talk on. We got there. You said you saw it. We confirmed that it was the fourth jet from the west, and you hit the target that I had intended for you to hit. So that went really smooth. I think that was actually me dropping first and then you dropping. because I went ahead and hit the target beforehand. Then I became a sneaky bastard, and you probably had no idea I was like right behind you for a long time.
Yeah, I had no idea. Not a
Yeah,
clue. I was head down in my stuff and not paying attention to anything else.
yeah. All this was that I was setting up to do a simultaneous impact, and one of the goals of this is to get you familiar with us, which as much as we're watching you and I can critique you, you should watch us and feel like, hey, this is what feels right to me. So I wanted to give a little bit more of that teamwork aspect. I just thought of that in this particular flight, so it's one more little wrinkle I'll add to future fan flights. But it was kind of cool. So you did go way out. You got way fast. I was letting you do it for a while. You know what I mean?
Just out there in the middle of nowhere. Yep.
Yeah, and having sensor troubles is it's difficult and it's not fun. And here, we would rather, if it's possible, talk through the problem and let's get back to being effective in the mission versus just have you get lost and not be able to do something. And so we tried that a couple of times, a couple different ways. We had plenty of fuel. I think I said in my live stream, I'm going to be as patient as my fuel allows, right? And so we went to another method. We talked onto the targets. No big deal. We'll figure out why. It might have been the VVSL, VVISL, whatever it is. That realigns the targeting pod. It unspools it so that if there's any issues, that might have been the actual problem now that I think about it. So we'll try that. The target got talked onto, and we came in. And we hit, yeah, so we should have released about the same time. Yeah, so the formation dictated the timing in this case. And we did. We released right about the same time. I don't think these vehicles show up, unfortunately. But our impacts were literally, let's see, impact 1 is at 1728. Impact 2 is 3 seconds later. You're not going to change much about your life between those 3 seconds. So we got them on nice and close together. Both those targets blew up. Have you ever done a simultaneous impact like that before?
Never have.
Okay.
No.
We do them sometimes here. Or we'll do them as separate TOTs, so maybe 1 minute after or whatever. The other reason it's nice to do this TOT is it sets us nicely to already be formed up and exit. And so we come down into the valley, and I'm curious. By the way, it's pretty obvious you've flown form. I mean, you seem to do a pretty decent job. How we got so close? I see. You just turned tighter and probably pulled more G's than I did.
I'm not used to pulling the speed brake when I do my
So you
brake.
didn't.
So I ended up turning really tight, I think. So I'm usually I just kind of bank and turn and hold and don't use the speed brake. So that's probably what I'm not used to that.
Yep. Okay. Because I saw on the essay page, I'm like, man, we are a little close. Had you
Yeah.
offset right. No big deal. We recognized it. We adjusted to it. We go ahead and get landed down here. And we park. So my first question is, I'm always trying to learn and better myself and refine this process and do things better. I think a couple things I could have done for you was, if I thought of the VVLSI, I think it's called, or had I recognized that you weren't in precise mode a little earlier, I think that'd have been a little easier. I think that it's difficult being in a new place and just flying with new people, even if your skills are high. It's just a different rhythm and cadence, and we're doing a few things here you'd never done before. So that always can get into your thinking process and, through your loops of information, and it can just make it more difficult. So first question is, anything I could have done to make your flight easier?
No, I think anytime I get a fog of war issue like that where I'm like, oh, I don't have any idea what's going on, I like it, because sometimes I get bored and I'm like, okay, what do I need to learn? And nothing pops up into my head. So I thought oh yeah, I'm just, I'm doing great. This is great. And then 8 digits, and I'm like, all right, I'm toast now. And then you see how the fog of war goes from step 1 is I can't figure this out, and step 2 is I'm going 400 knots, and then I'm at 23,000 feet. I'm 25 miles. I mean, it just cascaded it. So I like that. that you let me make mistakes so that I don't realize my mistakes unless I make them. So I like that. And then, you were patient and said, okay, let's just go ahead and do this and get it over with and get the bombs in. No, I thought it was good.
Okay. And
And it was fun. I love doing this, so it was fun. So
you ever seen that Swiss cheese block where it talks about it isn't one mistake, it's several mistakes that get you one
yeah,
mistake here, one mistake there, another mistake here. And so it is that process is present in DCS in the same way, and especially when you think of the aviate, navigate, communicate mantra that's in aviation, we're now adding in all these extra things. And so there's more things to get into your loop of decisions and what you're doing that can make it more complicated and difficult. I like that challenge. I like the teamwork. So if you like being lost, you're in the right place, because I promise you it'll happen again.
agreed. Yeah, yeah. I like listening to the aviation disaster podcasts, and it's just amazing. Like, one mistake, they're fine. Two mistakes, you're fine. But six things have to go wrong for this plane to go down, and all six things they end up, that's what happens, and it just
Yeah,
cascades. It's
it's
crazy.
never usually one thing,
Mhm.
right? I mean, one thing could have caused the main event, but then it's other things
Mhm.
after it that contribute in some way usually. But anyhow, so what did you, other than being lost in whatever and making mistakes, what did you like about the flight?
Um, I just love flying. So, and you easy, fun to fly with. I like getting instructions. So I don't enjoy being a flight lead by any means. So I enjoy getting instructions. Um, I didn't think there were too many by any means. So I'm not a big talker on the radio. So if there's something I'm not doing, or if I need to say something, or my communication isn't what it needs to be, let me know on that. But I just love flying and dropping bombs and flying in formation and everything about it. Hell, I love taxiing.
Yeah, and I mean it's a totally different mentality to be a flight lead. Um, I enjoy both. I enjoy not having to be a flight lead sometimes because I end up doing it a lot. The good news is hopefully that makes me a decent flight lead to some level. The bad news is I'm a human. I can make mistakes like anybody. I think the culture we have here of doing harder things, working with some real world SMEs, it lends itself to making it more difficult and complicated. And I like those challenges. I think anybody who's flying DCS, they have their own definition of fun. And if they enjoy that, then, there's a whole community of people to work with that. So I think that's awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I think it's pretty obvious you've been flying enough to build up some skills. Your passion for it is obvious. Um, that teamwork aspect that we did. Had you ever done teamwork like that before, talking onto a target, any of that kind of stuff?
Not really. I mean, I've done ops where we go hit one target, but there's not it's usually just, does everybody see the target? Everybody, we'll get into a racetrack or whatever and kind of form up into, mile back, one guy mile behind, and drop bombs, and then, meet up at a certain spot, but nothing really that I would say tactically coordinated with communication. No JTAC. The only JTAC we use, we'll fool around with a guy in a Humvee and he'll laze for us, but there's no calls, there's no pinpoint,
Right.
anything like that.
Right, and if you've seen any of our little live streams or videos, we work with real JTAC, so
Yeah.
it gets really. This is actually a good baseline. So we're working from the overhead versus
Mhm.
like a keyhole or an IP. We are in separate altitudes to be vertically deconflicted. In this
Mhm.
case, we were doing some talk-ons. We were using grids. We did a confirmer, though I did forget to have you confirm the second smirch there, so we end up on the wrong target. And that's really, as a cast team, that's both people's problems, right?
Mhm.
We weren't clear. You didn't ask. We both get to eat that lunch together. The important thing is if that's what's appealing to you and you like this, but you want to see this go to the levels beyond the basic things we did here, um, I would happily make you a candidate and welcome you to one actual and VFA 192 within this squadron.
Yeah, I want my brain to hurt. So
You want your brain to
absolutely.
hurt. You're in the right place. Well, with that, I will conclude this stream. I thank people for watching. One Actual is a DCS sim community. We have several flying wings. We have Hornets, we have Vipers, we have Harriers, and we have Red Air guys that fly a variety of red jets for us in different missions. I thank you for watching, and if you want to see more, then please like and subscribe.